The film opens with a throwback to 1388, when Lee Song-gai turned his army around in Wawado, and General Cho Yang, who was a traitor to his country, sent his men but got defeated. Hence, the last pillar of Goryeo fell. General Goryeo stole all the country's treasure after receiving threats and fled far away across the vast ocean. Years later, Captain Hae-rang is sailing the sea, and along the way, they run into a group of fishermen who are near expiring due to starvation and thirst. While their ship is hopelessly floating in the sea, Moo-chin tells the other that he is the one who stole the pillar for the new castle, Gyeongbokgung, in Hanyang. He made spoons out of the pillar's wood and became the reason why they got labeled as traitors. To run away from the soldiers who were trying to catch them, they boarded an empty ship, and ended up in the middle of the sea with their dried lips and physically drained bodies. Fortunately, Hae-rang finds their ship and rescues them from their misery, as it's meant for them to cross paths with each other. 3 months after their rescue, the pirates spot a huge Japanese ship coming towards them, seeing it as a golden opportunity to get more money, food, and other things. The charismatic Moo-chi boasts that he's the best sword fighter in Goryeo. They get on their ship, and after a fierce fight and versatile combat by Moo-chi, they learn that the Japanese were after a big treasure. A kid from the Japanese crew tells them that they lost their way while searching for the treasure and, hence, lost all of their food. He further points towards the map that a crew member is holding. They return to their ship with the map and decide to set foot on this new adventure, finding the treasure. They all become very happy at the prospect. Thus, Captain Hae-rang and her crew, along with the self-declared honorable bandits led by Moo-chi, embark on a daring adventure to find the last hidden treasure of the Goryeo dynasty. The first step in their journey is a mountainous island. They have all been hungry for many days and don't have any food. After seeing this, Moo-chi goes to hunt an ox, but many other oxen are also there, and they come face to face with a stampede of bulls on a cliff. In the pursuit of running, Moo-chi falls from a mountain. His companions believe that he perished, but he is alive. In the process of climbing back up, he discovers an elephant's tusk that has been engraved with further directions to finding the treasure. The captain's girl claims that the treasure map has been drawn on it and takes it from him. She declares that she will be the captain from now on, and says that anyone who wants to come with her should raise their hands. After some deceptions, disagreements, and fights, the two sides still join forces in order to find royal gold, which can fulfill all their wishes and dreams. In truth, it's a pretty simple fetch quest, although along the way, the group comes across a rival group of pirates who have the same idea, leading to a competition as they both want to buy their fortune with the gold. Everyone starts following the girl's instructions, because they have more faith in her than in their leader, Moo-chi. All of the leader's group goes with the girl, sitting with her in the boat. On the other side, Moo-chi is left alone on the island. Meanwhile, a general is seen, who tells his king about the treasure and claims that he knows where it lies. The captain, Hae-rang, is holding up the ship to wait for Moo-chi, and despite an attempt at betrayal by Moo-chi and one of his crew members, Mak-yi, the crew works together to decipher the engraving. They come up with a theory that the treasure could possibly be in an underwater cave. They try to access it through the water current in the ocean. Simultaneously, there are two generals working together to find and loot the treasure as well, who are close on the tails of Hae-rang and Moo-chi. A man arrives and informs Hae-rang that the elephant's tooth has been stolen, making it impossible for them to find the treasure without it. She returns to the island where she left Moo-chi and finds him in a longhouse. She beats him badly and asks about the tooth. Moo-chi swears that he didn't steal it, and he had no reason to do so after being hidden in her ship, which she wasn't unaware of. They learn that one of their companions has stolen it, and after stealing the tooth, he sold it to the king. Meanwhile, the general and the king talk about the treasure, and the general informs the king about everything. He claims that the wife of the soldier who found the treasure informed him about it. Moo-chi and Hae-rang also capture the thief Mak-yi, who stole the elephant's tooth, and they move towards their destination. On their way, they see many jellyfish there, and the crew goes through a whirlwind swim to reach the underwater cave. Unfortunately, they discover nothing there. Moo-chi tells the girl that if she believes in herself as the captain of everyone, she should tell them about the path to the treasure. A friend of Hae-rang gets angry and beats Moo-chi. During their fight, they find an old flag with a dragon drawn on it. Later, they notice that a map is drawn on the dragon. Meanwhile, a blast occurs from the king's general, who was in search of the treasure, when he hears the fight. It turns out that Moo-chi and the king have a history, and they once used to work together, but now see each other as enemies. Due to panic among them, the crew starts to move out. Moo-chi ties the silver box to his back with the robe and leaps into the water where they found the cave's path. Due to the heavy weight of the silver box, Moo-chi starts to drown, but Hae-rang comes to his aid and saves him by giving him her oxygen. In return, Hae-rang starts drowning. A huge whale arrives in the meanwhile and puts the fish in her mouth. The whale throws them back into their ship as a result of her stomach explosion. Afterwards, they realize that they don't have the rug map with them, and suspect Mak-e, who has stolen the tooth before. Mak-e swears that he doesn't have the rug map. Although precious, this is not the ultimate treasure. After a scuffle with the enemy, the crew successfully steals the ornaments. Mak-e also glances at another map that could lead them to their next clue. Staggering back to the ship, the crew learns of Mak-e's discovery and demands that he share it. After revealing the clue and his knowledge of its route, Mak-e negotiates to be a temporary captain. She agrees and takes the job of cooking for everyone. She proceeds to prepare everyone's meal, but when she prepares it, it is quite weird, and everyone spits it out. Only Moo-chi eats it and praises it, because he starts to like Hae-rang. The crew makes their way to the terribly dangerous Lightning Island, combating lightning strikes from a tremendous stormy cloud. When they look above at the lightning, they immediately realize that the treasure must be here. Moo-chi splits off from the rest of the crew to hike to the peak of a rocky, lightning-clad mountain. The enemy and their ship catch up with them. Moo-chi reaches the summit of the mountain and discovers a group of spears arranged in an upright platform. These spears had belonged to the original traders of the Goryeo dynasty, who were also the thieves of the treasure. As per the king's belief that the treasure was buried in a place where the light did not strike, he orders his men to excavate the area. Moo-chi is about to investigate when their enemies arrive at the peak. One of the generals tries to interpret the meaning of the spears. Moo-chi makes a costly sacrifice by losing multiple soldiers to obtain the spears that attract lightning. He eventually comes across a treasure chest that his soldiers had unearthed, which he believes to be the treasure. However, he finds a goblin mask inside, which is yet another clue to the treasure's location, and a chest filled with rocks that appears to mock him. Meanwhile, the enemy troops, led by the general, catch up to Moo-chi while the other general pursues Hae-rang in her ship. Moo-chi engages the general in combat, showcasing his swordsmanship skills. The two men harbor a deep-seated resentment towards each other, having worked together in the past. Moo-chi persists in the fight despite being wounded. In the depths of the raging sea, Hae-rang is locked in a fierce battle against the enemy's fleet of cannon-laden ships. As the sea begins to boil and the waves grow ever taller, Hae-rang summons all her seafaring expertise to navigate the treacherous waters and evades the enemy's deadly firepower. With each passing moment, the situation grows increasingly dire as the general's cannons rain down upon her ship. But Hae-rang refuses to give up and is determined to survive no matter what. As the sea erupts in a fiery explosion, spewing molten lava from beneath the water's surface, Hae-rang finds herself caught in a swirling vortex of water that threatens to pull her under. Yet, like a seasoned sailor, she deftly navigates her way out of harm's way, narrowly avoiding a monstrous wave that threatens to engulf her and her crew. It is a scene reminiscent of World's End, but Hae-rang's bravery and skill are all her own. But the enemy's troops are not so lucky. As they try to destroy Hae-rang's ship, they are consumed by the exploding lava, perishing in a fiery blaze. Hae-rang's own ship is also severely damaged by the relentless waves that batter it without mercy. Now Hae-rang and her crew are adrift on the open sea, forced to contemplate their fate in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. But Hae-rang is not the one to give up easily. With a fierce determination and an unshakable will, she vows to keep fighting, no matter what dangers lie ahead. As the battles between the two sides continue, the crew members grow increasingly frustrated with the unreasonable orders from their captain, Mak-e. They become so angry that they begin to physically assault him, and in a desperate attempt to escape, Mak-e flees the scene. While on the run, he stumbles upon a peculiar penguin carrying a small piece of gold in its mouth. Excited by this discovery, Mak-e calls the others over to see, but unfortunately, the penguin disappears. In his search for the elusive bird, Mak-e comes across the goblin mask that has been lost in the scuffle between Moo-chi and the general, which falls into the sea. Determined to find the treasure that the mask points to, Mak-e takes a deep breath and dives into the water. As he explores, he eventually comes across a cave that bears a striking resemblance to the goblin mask. At the same time, he spots the penguin again, only this time it's carrying a gold bar. Maki latches onto a rope attached to the bird and is led to an enormous ship full of gold. However, Maki is not alone in his discovery, as the ship is guarded by a group of intelligent and fiercely protective penguins who are not afraid to use their sharp beaks and witty humor to fend off intruders. Despite their initial hostility, Maki manages to win them over and secures the treasure for himself. Afterwards, Maki finally sails out of the cave with the treasure in tow, rejoining the rest of the crew who are ecstatic to see him. The battle between Moo-chi and the general reaches its climax, the lightning strikes intensifying around them. Eventually, Moo-chi emerges victorious after killing the general with his sword, and he rushes back to Hae-rang, who has also suffered from some injuries during the fight. They celebrate their success and the newfound wealth that they have acquired. Moo-chi and Hae-rang's love story also takes a significant turn as they share a passionate kiss, cementing their commitment to each other and their crew. With the treasure in their possession, the future looks bright for the group, and they begin to plan their next adventure. They now have a brand new ship, their spirits are high, and they set sail into the sunset, ready to explore the vast and mysterious seas that lay ahead.